Checking connection. Live now. Hello, YouTube. How are you? My name is Nick Goucher. I'm the founder of Nation of Homeowners Mortgage Group, license number 286901. And welcome to Asset or Trap Tuesdays. We are going to show you how to make sure when it's time to own a property, you're buying an asset, not a trap. For years, I've been thinking about this because right now, I'm gonna mind for a second. 73% of homeowners who are going to buy a home, according to recent studies, say they have some regret. What is that regret? Usually, they buy too much of a home and they're cash strapped. So if they run into an unexpected emergency, they have a problem and they're pissed about it. So the question becomes, what can we do about it? What if we could show you a way to make sure when you buy a home, not only can you be pre-qualified for it, but you can actually afford it. That you're buying an asset, not a trap. And every Tuesday, we'll be here showing you real life scenarios, how we look at a borrower's profile, a client's loan, and show them if they're buying, in fact, an asset or a trap. It's my design. I hope you like it. And every week it'll get better as we go. Today, I want to show you a scenario in real life. I want to see, you can see my screen here. If not, we'll get better, team, as we go. If you're on IG, what's up? Waving, how you guys doing? How are you? So I want to look at a client's file for a second, okay? So this is a family of two. They have a child, and they come to us because they want to buy a property, all right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to find out what that family here, what are the motivations? What are the goals that are going to guide them to making this decision of owning a home? It's an important milestone. It's a great way to build wealth. But too many times, we don't have the proper guidance to make sure that you can own that home with confidence. So this client, for example, Mike, Nat, hello, hello. How are you? Once I get the YouTube live chat, I'll drop it into the link. You guys can watch it on live with me. I'm pumped. I'm excited. So first, this family, they have three primary goals. Okay. Goal number one is these two couples, this is the couple I'm speaking about. They're the first in their family. Mike, what's up, man? Bruce, what's up, brother? They're the first in their family to have a goal to buy a property. So one, this is a milestone commitment. They both grew up in homes that their parents rented. They never owned. They have a child, and they want their child to grow up with stability in a home that they call their own. That's important for them. They want to pass down wealth. Legacy is also an important milestone for most families. Having kids, they have an incentive to help them own a property themselves and help them as they grow up as well. So those are the three primary goals. When it comes down to their priorities, obviously it's their son. Their son is their light. They want to make sure that their son can grow up and be prosperous themselves. At the same time, they're thinking about their long-term future. So they see that owning a home could help them build wealth, which is really critical and pretty standard too. These are pretty standard goals that most families have when they want to purchase a property. So first thing that we ask them, okay, before we go through our process, is one, we ask them after you buy the property, would you still like to make sure that you have money put aside for unexpected events? Why? Right now, 38% of homeowners, nearly one in three, if they run into an unexpected event, like a plumbing issue, they don't have the cash put aside to cover that difference. Anxiety goes higher, the stress goes higher. They own a home, but they're trapped. They don't have the cash to deal with the unexpected event. We also ask them, besides owning the property, do you still want to put money aside for your retirement and your other goals? And they say yes. So usually, right? Let's do a breakdown here for a second. Hey team, hey Amber, LaShawn, how are you? Who's that, brother Howard? How you guys doing? Oh wow, I'll post it. It's live there, my brother. Oh, this is so good. This is so exciting. Okay, fantastic. So let's break this down for a second. So see, it's getting bigger too. So let's first look at how a person normally would come to a lender. We'll look at the person's income. So this family here, they both make a gross income of 12,500 bucks a month. So they make 150 per year, right? So they have good income. Their mid credit scores, you take the husbands and the wife, you take the two middle scores. Whoever has the lowest, that's their score. They have a 670 credit score, right? They have student loan debts. Most of us do. Right now, Americans over two. This is what I said to you. Americans right now have over $2 trillion in student loan debts. This family is no different. So we have student loan debts. We see what they pay here monthly. They have an auto loan. They got credit card debt. So we see how much they have in their monthly obligations. We then break down how much they have in their checking, their savings, how much they have in retirement. Now that we have that, usually as a lender, what we'll do is we'll put in a purchase price, right? Let's say they're buying a property, they want to buy a property for $750,000. Evening, brother. How are you? How are you? Now watch this. At 750, it's a 30-year fixed mortgage. Let's say their rate is somewhere in the high fives today, if they go FHA, for example. If you break down their mortgage payment between property taxes, home insurance, principal and interest, along with their private mortgage insurance too, anytime you have less than a 20% down payment, lenders require a private mortgage insurance. Why? Because if the borrower happens to default, the lender needs to have an insurance policy to know we can still cover that amount that we lent you on an actual loan if you default. It's to protect the lender loan that we gave you because you put down less than 20%. That's why you have a PMI. So if you look at a payment right now, the client is paying in this scenario $5,600 a month. Now, if you break down their house payment and their total payments, usually a lender, if you're qualifying, for example, for FHA, your mortgage payment can go as high as 45% of your gross income. They're at 44.88, right? We'll let you go as high when it comes to your mortgage payment and your other credit debt at 55% of your total monthly income. So by and large, you come to a lender, we get you pre-approved. This loan ideally works. Look at the side. Look what this says. Can your gross income support the payment? Yes. Do you have enough funds to buy the property? Let's go back here. So on a 5% down payment, it's $37,000. Okay. Closing costs when you buy a property between lender fees, escrow fees, your title costs is usually around 2% of your purchase price. So you buy a property for $750, 2% is $15,000. So to have a down payment and closing costs, you need $52,000 to buy this property in this example. Now they have $110,000. So as a lender, look, by and large, you're pre-qualified. And that's that. You go find a property, you can buy this property, a lender will give you the actual loan for it based on these terms. Now, what I just showed you is usually where the process ends. You go find a property. But there's so much more. You want to see? I'm going to show you. Okay, I want to show you. Let's go on the next screen. It's important. In lenders, by and large, we don't have to do this. This is really the job of the homeowner, the potential homeowner, to make sure that you've done a budget to make sure you can afford to own the property. Because if you look here again, look at this family's file again. Look at what they take home after taxes. We all got to pay something, right? Federal and state taxes usually. In this example, this family takes home, they make 12.5, but they take home 87.50 per month. Now remember, if you ask them, how much do you want to save and keep in your pocket to invest. That's important too, right? They said they want to save 10%. So if they take home less than 9,000, they want to save about $900 a month. Now, if you look at their other expenses, look at that mortgage payment, their other debts. But guess what? They got to still eat, right? They got groceries. They got internet, cable, utilities. They have a child in private school, paying $750 per month. As a lender, we don't have to use that when factoring in what you can qualify for. But you have to still pay that mortgage and that student loan tuition for your child every single month. So if this person were to take on this payment, look what they see at the bottom. After they pay their childcare costs, their grooming cost, they're in the hole 1660 per month. They don't have the money. They don't have the money. But they're pre-approved to buy this home. It's a little frustrating because that's how the mortgage business is today, by and large. If this person, as it sets right now, buys this property for 750, they don't own an asset, they own a trap. And that is critical for our company, the Nation of Homeowners, is to help empower you as a potential wealth builder by owning a home to make sure you can own that home with confidence and a peace of mind. Let me tell you why that's important for a second. Even those people who are on IG. Hello, how you guys doing? How are you? If you can't tap into the YouTube, this is the first episode. We'll be here every single Tuesday. There's no lights, okay? But it's all good. Every Tuesday is going to get better. It's going to get bigger as we go. But here's why this is important, guys. Super critical. Because if you think about this, if we go back to the recession in 2008, there's a study that came out. It's a study called The State of Housing in Black America, the Sheba Report. And they looked at 2008 market crash. And what they said was that African Americans and Hispanic families who owned a home were 75% more likely to have foreclosed and lost their property. Why does that matter? Because if you look at that report, they would tell you that the African American community in that '08 recession, according to their studies, lost half of all Black wealth in America in '08 and still have not recovered from it almost 20 years later. We put you into a home. We go on Facebook that we brought you champagne. We show you keys. You put it on Facebook, and it's left for you to deal with the idea that you never did a budget. 54% of people who own a property, who own a home, they don't write down their budget of what they spend in their childcare costs, in groceries, in eating out, in tuition for their kids' school. Your entertainment. You need to understand how much you can truly afford, which is why for us, the first thing we do when we have a client is we ask them, did you do a budget? That's the first question. Number one, did you do a budget? Because a budget is going to let you see how much money you take home. We look at your gross. You live off your net, right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? If you're on Instagram, that makes sense, team? You live off of your net, not your gross. We qualify you on your gross. It's a model that by and large, I'll tell you something. It's a model that by and large makes sense as a lender. Why? Because we look at default rates in America, which is to say how many people actually don't make their mortgage payments. And if you go back to the recession in 2008, it's when people lost their property because people stopped paying. 8% of Americans stop paying their mortgage. 8%. That means even in the worst crash in almost 100 years, 92% of Americans still made their mortgage payments on time. Even today, right now, even though most people are strapped for cash, household savings is at a near all-time low. From 1945 to 2022, the average American saves 8.48% of their annual income in savings. Today, it's 4%. It's the third lowest it's ever been since 1945. People are strapped for cash. And by and large, when you come to get yourself pre-approved, we don't look at if you did a budget or your take home. If those numbers make up your gross income, and if you pass that smell test on your credit debts and your mortgage payment using that 45 to 55 debt to income ratio on the front end and back end, we'll give you a pre-approval letter because we know that today there's a 98% chance you're going to make your payments on time. If you got to sweat, borrow, struggle, miss other payments, you figure out a way because owning a home for most Americans is a milestone that they want to make sure they can keep and preserve going forward. But there's a cost. That cost is you own a trap, not an asset. So, step one, when you do this, make sure you do a budget first. Very simple. Write down your net, how much you take home on that direct deposit in your bank account. Step number one. Step two, write down all your other costs, your needs, not your wants yet, your needs, because you can cut off your wants. You can spend less money in coffee at Starbucks. You can buy their coffee maker and make it at home. Right? Right? You can make it at home. That's the idea. You can make it at home. You can cut down your wants. You write down your needs. Your child's tuition for education, in this case, this family's case, that's a need. Child care cost, these are needs. Gas in your car, these are needs. Your insurance that you have to pay for your car, these are also needs. When you write those needs down, at the same time, how much money do you still want to save? Because we want to make sure that you have the home that you can own, but you should still have money to put aside for other investment accounts. That's why we say it all the time. The nation of homeowners, we teach you how to own what you can afford and invest the difference. That's critical. Americans, by and large, are underinvested in their retirement. Today, 46, nearly half of adults have no money in retirement. Zero. We're doing it at a time where 85% of Americans have no pensions. And Social Security is set to run out of its commitments at 100% in 8 years. So if you're in your 40s like me, if you're in your 30s like me, what is there left for us in 20 years, 25 years? Who knows? And most of us, half of us, have almost no money put aside in retirement. That's crazy. That's crazy. So the concept, the idea behind this is to make sure that you have a tool that you need, that you can use to make sure that you're buying a home with confidence. That's why this tool was created. So when you write down your budget, if we do this, for example, this family makes, almost 9 grand take home. And you write down all of their expenses. So let's take out the mortgage payment for a second. And if you put it back to zero for now, right? And if we see, okay, so watch this. So ideally, if they make $8,750 per month and they want to take home 10%, maybe we can cut it down. Maybe we cut it down to 5%. So we ask the customer, how much do you want to save for yourself of your income? Let's say it's 5%. It was 10, you cut it down to 5%, so you can qualify for more, right? After you pay yourself, you pay all of your groceries, internet, your cable, utilities, your child care, your tuition, gym membership. Look at this number here for a second. We might give you a loan at almost 6 grand per month. But look at this. You can afford 4,400 bucks per month. That's your number. So when you come to a lender, we should be training you and teaching you and empowering you to say, I know I might be able to qualify for this. I can afford this. 54%. Don't do a budget. So if there's 3 million people who are going to own a home this year, if you look at that, for example, that would mean 1.6 million won't actually put pen to pad or Excel or use some app to see how much money they actually can afford by and large. We got to change that. We have to change that. We are going to change that. That's why we exist, to make sure that you know what you can afford, not just get pre-qualified for. So if we work backwards, if we know that's our number, now we can say, okay, how much can 4,400 bucks a month buy us? Now we go back in our numbers here and say, okay, we got a purchase price of, let's say if we go 650, right? We're at 4862 on the payment. So we're getting closer, right? The client needs $45,000 to buy the property. They have 110 put aside between their retirement account and between their checking and their savings. So we're getting closer, right? Perhaps we could use some of that extra money that they have and see if we could find a program where they can lower the interest rate. So what if we say, hey, if that's the budget, 4,400 bucks a month, what if we can buy down the rate? According to a study by Realtor.com, 44% of sellers in many markets are giving buyers credits to help them lower the cost they need to buy that property. They're helping out. Why are they helping out? Because right now, who own a home, Americans today have $35 trillion. You hear that? $1 trillion of equity in their property. $35 trillion, which is 400,000 per homeowner. Look what I said to you. Most Americans are cash poor. We have the third lowest savings rate in American history since 1945. 78% of Americans who have a job live paycheck to paycheck. 10 million Americans work 2 full-time jobs to make ends meet. This is crazy. It's the time we're in right now. So you got to do what's best for you and your family, because this family I'm talking about here, by and large, most of us don't have family we can go to because we're normally the best. We're the ones in our family doing the best usually. We don't have a network by and large of people who can help us financially in many communities. So you got to be smart about these decisions. So we can look at buying down the rate, which also would increase your buying power. There's many things that we can do to help get there, but it starts with you being empowered to know what you can afford, not what you can be pre-qualified for. Do you get anything from this message today? Is this: before you come to me, because going forward, I mean, how would you go anywhere else? Hello, excuse me. That's why I'm here. That's why we exist. We are going to build. Hear me out for a second. For those of you who are here, record this message. It's November the 4th. I am 3 months back into mortgage after a 5-year hiatus outside of production. My last time doing loans, team, those of you guys can hear me, was May of 2020. May 2020, my last time in production, my little small team in LA did 18 million bucks in production. The following month, I become an SVP for a national company, and I had an honor of serving with a phenomenal founder named Ben Slayton, who was a great mentor to me. He's in his 80s now, and he has been a great friend and mentor. But the point is, we've not been on this side of the business for a very long time. At this point, I have a vision. We are going to build the most trusted mortgage company in America. That's going to empower people to know what they can afford when they own a home. If we do this, when we do this, we're going to restore trust in the American dream. As a loan officer, if you hear this, there's a reason why almost 75% of people who buy a home with you, when it's time to buy again, they go somewhere else. I'll say it to you guys again. If you are a lender, you do loans, you help somebody buy a property, 75% chance when they buy a property again, they're going somewhere else. They don't trust you. You'll say, oh, I didn't follow up. No, no, they don't trust you because they were a transaction, not a relationship. We are going to build the most trusted mortgage company in America in 7 years. Mark this down right now. It's done. It's good as gold. And this is one way we're going to do that. Helping you put the power back in your hands so you know what you can afford when it's time to buy a property. Is that good? Is that good? Yes. So this tool is available. If you want to use it, all you have to do is this QR code right here. Take a second. I'm going to do a replay as well. And go ahead and scan that QR code. And I'll send you over this yourself. And so you can look to see, yes, I may be pre-qualified, but this family, they were buying a trap, not an asset. They were going to be stuck using credit cards to cover their needs once they own a property. And it happens to too many families across America. Hope it's helpful. Over time, as we grow, we're engaged. But if you're with me, I appreciate you. It's 7 o'clock now. I have to go home, put my kids to sleep, read my bedtime story. So enjoy your evening. Team, I appreciate you. I'll see you soon.